Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for May 4th. May 4th is the 124th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 125th in leap years, with 241 days remaining to the end of the year. It's also Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Today's word is enigmatic. Enigmatic is an adjective, and it's one of those words that uses itself to define itself by saying that enigmatic means of, relating to, or resembling an enigma. So we'll look at the definition of enigma and then relate that back to its adjective definition. Enigma is a noun that means something that is hard to understand or explain, an inscrutable or mysterious person, an obscure speech or writing. So enigmatic means of or relating to or in the manner of something that is hard to understand or explain, of or relating to or in the manner of an inscrutable or mysterious person, or of or relating to or in the manner of something that's hard to understand or explain. Enigmatic describes something that's hard to solve or figure out. Mysterious. Enigma, and hence enigmatic, come to us from Latin, Greek before that. First known use of the word enigmatic is 1609, enigmatic. And with that, back in the 1300s, there were a couple of priests, Catholic priests, John Wycliffe and Jan Huss. Huss's first name is spelled Jan, but appears to have been called John, so John Wycliffe and John Huss. They were Catholic priests in England and Bohemia, now known as Czechoslovakia, respectively. These two got sideways of the church when they questioned some of the ways that things were done in the church. Wycliffe had issues with what he saw as hypocrisy and corruption and the privileged status of the clergy. He spoke out about what he saw wrong with the temporal rule of the clergy. He felt that the Scriptures should be the authoritative center of Christianity and advocated for translation of the Bible into a common vernacular that ordinary people could understand for themselves. And he worked on a translation of the Bible into Middle English, a version now known as Wycliffe's Bible. Looks like the first version of this Bible was completed prior to his death in 1384. Updates were completed later on. In that same time, John Huss, also a Catholic priest in what is now Czechoslovakia, was having similar issues with what he saw as privilege and corruption in the church, and against which he also spoke out. He was excommunicated for this, but he continued to preach. They let him slide until he began speaking out against the practice of selling indulgences. If you're not familiar with this, is where one could pay a penalty, which supposedly would absolve one's sins. You buy your way out of hell. Be released from purgatory after death if you paid the fine. Sort of a way to buy a get-out-of-hell card, if you will. Apparently, this was a pretty successful business model for certain churches in the Middle Ages. John Wycliffe and John Huss felt it was exploitative and wrong and spoke out about it. This got them both on the enemies list of the church. John Wycliffe had passed away in 1384, but John Huss was still alive in 1415 when the Council of Constance was called to order, and on May 4th, 1415, religious reformers John Wycliffe and John Huss were condemned as heretics at the Council of Constance, posthumously in John Wycliffe's case. They demanded John Huss to recant, which he wouldn't, and he was executed for his so-called heresies later in the year. Mercy. It took a bit longer to tell than I expected, so before we go on to the song of the day, I'll just say that I have talked about other things in previous episodes for May 4th, and I'll include a link if you'd like to see what I had to say about Rhode Island, Audrey Hepburn, Catherine and Jackie Jackson, Al Capone, and a few other people, places, and things. Today's song is The Locomotion by Grand Funk Railroad. Written by Carole King and Jerry Goffin, The Locomotion was originally released in 1962 by Little Eva, and then in 1974 by Grand Funk Railroad, and once again in 1988 by Kylie Minogue. It's also been covered by other artists, but today we're talking about Grand Funk's 1974 version. It was released in February of that year, and we find it in the #1 spot for the first of 2 weeks on May 4th, 1974. The Locomotion by Grand Funk Railroad. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in the description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Do not disturb.
Okay, I turned Do Not Disturb on.
Good job. Third time better be a charm. There's no thee there. One more time. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. Are you making some sound? Get on out of here. Yeah, we're gonna edit that out. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.